By the end of this scene, you will be able to define what a board foot is and explain why it is the standard unit of measurement in the lumber industry. Welcome to the world of woodworking and construction. If you've ever stepped into a professional lumberyard, you probably noticed that wood isn't always sold by the linear foot or by the piece. Instead, it's sold by the board foot. So what exactly is a board foot? Think of it as a measurement of volume, not just length. One board foot is defined as a volume of wood that is 12 inches long, 12 inches wide, and 1 inch thick. In other words, it represents 144 cubic inches of wood. Whether you have a short, thick beam or a long, thin strip, the lumberyard uses this unit to ensure pricing is consistent based on the total amount of material you are getting. Now that we know what it is, let's look at the formula used to calculate it. By the end of this scene, you will be able to identify the components of the board foot formula and use them to calculate the volume of a standard piece of lumber. To calculate board feet, we use a simple formula based on the volume of the piece in inches. We take the length, multiply it by the width, and then multiply that by the thickness. We divide the total by 144 because, as we discussed, one board foot is 144 cubic inches. Let's look at a common example, a standard 2x4 that is 8 feet long. First, we need all dimensions in inches. 8 feet becomes 96 inches. When we multiply 96 by 4 and then by 2, we get 768 cubic inches. Dividing that by 144 gives us approximately 5.33 board feet. Keep in mind that in the lumber industry, these calculations often use the nominal size, the size before the wood was planed smooth, but the formula remains the same. You have now mastered the basic calculation for board feet. By the end of this scene, you'll be able to calculate board feet using the feet-inch-inch shortcut formula, which is often faster for long pieces of lumber. While the first formula we learned works every time, there is a shortcut. Since most lumber is measured in feet for length, we can skip the conversion to inches by using this version of the formula. Here, we multiply the length in feet by the width and thickness in inches, then divide by 12 instead of 144. Let's try this with an oak plank that is 10 feet long, 6 inches wide, and 2 inches thick. Notice how much simpler the math becomes. 10 times 6 is 60, times 2 is 120. Dividing 120 by 12 gives us exactly 10 board feet. Both formulas lead to the same result. The key is to make sure your units match your divisor. If you use length in inches, divide by 144. If you use length in feet, divide by 12. We have now covered 2 efficient ways to determine lumber volume. By the end of this scene, you will be able to apply the board foot formula to multiple pieces of lumber and understand how thickness is rounded up in professional lumberyards. In a real woodworking shop, you are rarely buying just one board. Let's say you need 3 pieces of walnut for a tabletop. Each piece is 8 feet long and 8 inches wide. Notice the thickness is 1¼ inches. In the industry, this is often called 5/4 lumber. When calculating board feet, we always use the decimal form for fractions. For one board, we use the formula 8 feet times 8 inches times 1.25 inches, all divided by 12. First, 8 times 8 times 1.25 equals 80. Then, 80 divided by 12 gives us 6.67 board feet per board. But since we have 3 identical boards, we simply multiply that result by 3. You are buying 20 board feet of walnut. One important pro tip: lumberyards usually measure thickness based on the rough cut dimensions. If a board is slightly over 1 inch, it might be charged as 1¼ inches. Always ask if you are being charged for the nominal or actual size. Let's recap. First, define volume as 12 by 12 by 1. Second, use the inch or foot formula. And third, always convert fractions to decimals. You are now ready to walk into any lumberyard and calculate exactly how much wood you need and what it should cost. Happy building!